Out there Sunday morning, wake up, breakfast in bed, Women's World Cup, and then US Open.
This US Open on Tuesday. Make sure you check out the show. Look who's coming. The big man, Shaq, sitting down with us. Lots to talk about with him. I'm sure it'll be a very effervescent and entertaining conversation.
Looking so good.
All right, game 6. Draymond hits Clay in transition, pulls up, drills one from beyond the arc.
Clay, part of the tragedy of Clay's injury last night was he was game 6 Clay once again. Oh, game 6, season on the line. Watch me bust some heads. He was unbelievable.
This is a 1-on-3 fast break.
Right.
Every coach in the world is saying, bad shot, bad shot. Oh, Clay, that's okay.
I mean, he's fading to his right. Oh, my goodness.
All right, finally, Fred VanVleet shaking Quinn Cook, nailing the tray.
Indecision here. We had a lot of lineups, Nick, you were concerned about. A lot of players unfamiliar. Him and Draymond not understanding who's going to take the guard over the top. Draymond thought he was going to have a bounce pass here. They leave him wide open. Another critical 3 by VanVleet.
In the 36 minutes Quinn Cook wasn't on the court, the Warriors won by 12. In the 12 minutes he was, they lost by 16.
Wow. All right, Warriors lost more than just the game and the series last night. They lost Klay Thompson as well. He suffered a torn ACL in the third quarter of the Game 6 loss. He is now likely out until February or March of 2020. Warriors lost KD and Klay both to major injuries in back-to-back games. Here's Steph Curry on his fallen Splash brother.
You think about the person and the guy and how much he loves to play the game, and that's the only thoughts you have. It's really not about, you know, what it means in terms of playing basketball. It's just I'm more concerned about him as an individual and hoping that he's all right.
Everybody thinks it's kind of end of us. That's just not smart. We're not done yet. You know, we lost this year. Clearly just wasn't our year. You know, but it's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But yeah. You know, I hear a lot of that noise. It's the end of a run and all that jazz. I don't see it happening, though.
All right, CC, let's piggyback off what Draymond was alluding to there. How much does Clay's injury now change the future for this Golden State team?
It definitely changes their future for next season. First, I think about Danny Green. He challenges Clay. Clay has a breakaway. Danny Green challenges him. It's a very clean play. He goes after the ball. The reason why Clay tears his ACL was because he tried to hold on to the rim. He couldn't hold on to the rim because of his momentum. And if he had tried to dunk it with one hand, which most NBA players are able to land, but his inability to be able to hold on to the rim, that's what caused him on the fall.
Yep.
Yes, and you could see that his knee buckled there instantly. So Danny Green, for those out there thinking it's a dirty play, no, it's not a dirty play. Clay didn't think it was a dirty play. Him and Danny Green had an exchange afterward. Danny Green was like, man, I'm sorry you got hurt. And Clay was like, yeah, it was a clean basketball play. But Clay is a great athlete. He's avoided injury, so I expect him to make a full recovery. But they're out of it for next year. I don't care what Vegas says as far as their chances of winning. And the reason why is because, just like we thought, KD, July 1st, is going to be out of there. Clay is going to be on the rack. How are they going to score points? How are they going to play the Warriors style that they play? You think Iggy's going to come back and be able to score 20 points next year? You think Draymond? Because you see when Draymond has the ball in his hand, he can be a liability. Now, he is a good passer, but the more you put the ball in his hand, the more apt he is to turn the ball over. So they have to recreate how they're going to play basketball. And now Steph Curry is getting ready to play basketball in the NBA like when he was at Davidson. And they was double teaming him, making him force the ball out of his hand, because that's what last night's game looked like. I hadn't seen Steph Curry like that since I watched him in the NCAA tournament. And I was wondering, wow, how'd this kid get to Davidson?
Remember, and Chris Mannix will be on the show later, remember Chris Mannix, he said the night Steph had 47, what I thought was the best game of his career, NBA Finals, game number 4 in the loss, the game without Clay, obviously no KD. Mannix said that Steph reminded you that if he were on Orlando, he would score 30, 35 a night and be a top 3 MVP candidate. He's going to have a chance to prove it next year. That's what it means for the Warriors next year. And for the Warriors as far as next postseason, if they get there, which I think they probably could get there, by the time Clay plays again, Steph's going to be 32. Clay's going to be 30 coming off an ACL. Draymond's going to be 30. And Andre Iguodala's going to be 36. One of there are not many problems with going to the finals every year, but one of them is this. You don't got no great young players come through the pipeline. Their best young players, probably Jordan Bell. They bought that pick from Chicago. They got into a weird staring match with Patrick McCaw. He now plays for Toronto. Like, it's not like they have even their own guys that they've drafted. Oh, there's one. No, so for the Warriors for next year, they're not favorites in the West. They're not co-favorites in the West. They're not favorites for a top 4 seed.
So is this the end of the dynasty then for the Warriors? Does it end here?
I got a lot of respect for the Warriors, how they've done things, and they have dominated basketball for 5 years. I'm not going to say the dynasty is over yet. I'm going to give them the regular season. And when they come out and they have the 4th, 5th, 6th best record in the West next year, it's still not going to be over with. But when they lose in the playoffs next year, that's when it will be official. Clay will be back for them in the playoffs. So they still have a chance to knock off something. They're still going to have the Splash Brothers. But how they're able to add and the limitations around, and Nick, you have kept me abreast as far as what they can do financially, which is very, very limited. So this is a lot of what we saw last night is what we'll see next season.
I mean, the only way they can open themselves up financially is if they let KD walk and let Clay walk. And you can't do that to him. This guy, listen, you cannot not give Klay Thompson a max contract. You can't. He has been your best big game, back against the wall player of any of them. And he has shown the ability. They mentioned it in the broadcast last night. How many all-time, most three-pointers in a playoff game? Clay. Most points in a quarter in any game? Clay. He had 60. Didn't he have 60 points through 3 quarters? Didn't he have a game where he scored 60 on like 17 dribbles? I mean, the guy is, he's an unbelievable player. And yesterday, he tears his ACL, goes to the locker room. Someone shouts to him, "Hey, man, if you don't take these free throws, you're ineligible to come back in the game." Comes back out there, takes the free throws, tells Steve Kerr, "Give me 2 minutes, I'll be back." And then the next word Kerr gets, he's on crutches. But speaking of Kerr, do I think the dynasty's over? Yes. Does Steve Kerr think the dynasty's over? Unlike Draymond Green, here's what Steve Kerr said about these last 5 years, and it seems like he's talking about the past tense, not the present tense.
What I've witnessed as their coach over the last 5 years, it is just an incredible combination of talent and character and commitment to each other. This just doesn't happen. It just, a group of guys like this don't come around together and do what they did over the last 5 years. And I've been lucky enough to that's what I told him in the locker room.
So he knows it.
You're right.
I mean, now maybe in a couple years they're fully healthy, have a full season, but now guys everyone on the team that matters is 30 plus. Like, they're in a really rough spot. It was arguably as good of any 5-year run as any team's had in modern NBA history. But yeah, the KD injury, the Clay injury, losing, to me, that puts an end to it.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, did Kawhi prove he is the best player in the world? That's next on First Things First.